What's up, everyone? I'm Chef and Delish, here introducing to you Sunday Scaries with Buccs McGee. Now, this time we're getting into the AFC South division, and as you can see, I'm a Colts fan. So, am I in for a long, sad season this year, or do you think Anthony Richardson will outshine the other rookie quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud? Now, Trevor Lawrence is the vet in this division, and can he capitalize on last year's playoff run? I'm curious on what the over-under for the wins in this division is. Tell me what you think, McGee and Nutmeg. Sending it over to you, alright, guys?
Welcome into Sunday Scares with Bucks McGee. Yesterday we went over his home turf, the NFC South. Today we go over my home turf, the AFC South. And if you'll notice the scenery change, we had to get inside to the safe shelters of the studios and outside of the hot, blistering summer sun.
Ridiculous. Fall cannot come quick enough.
For multiple reasons, the weather and football.
Yes, thank you.
Although I will say the only thing worse than the sun was probably those darn flies.
Yeah, they enjoy the heat a little bit, but now we're safe inside the studios, so no worries.
So we're gonna kick around the AFC South today, and the first thing we got to start at the top. The defending champs are the Jags, which still sounds odd coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, it's, if you had told me like 2-3 years ago the Jags would have been on this course of relevancy now, I would have been like, yeah, okay, sure, they're moving to England or wherever they're going.
Yeah, right.
Don't need to worry about the Jags, but no, here we are.
They are building off a very successful season, not just because they won the division, but they also won a playoff game. Mm-hmm. They had that massive come from behind victory against the Chargers. And then they went toe-to-toe with the eventual champion Chiefs, falling just shy in that one. So now this really sets up a are you for real type of season for them. And what do you think some of the parts with the experience now, are they in a decent position to prove that they really belong and can go to at least the championship game? Because typically two playoff games in, you should be expecting at least the championship game.
No, exactly. Of course, they're peaking, but I don't know if it's the right time, because the AFC, like we've talked about, is a gauntlet. Let's be realistic. There's about 11 teams that are legit in the conference. From last year, I think they've gotten better. Calvin Ridley is back from suspension. And from what, people have seen in training camp, he looks explosive. He just adds a whole new weapon to this team. They're young. I believe the coaching, with Peterson there, has really elevated this team, has changed the culture. I feel they are for real, and it wouldn't surprise me if, the conference championship's in their future. No doubt about it.
Where do you rank them as far as hierarchy in the AFC, with the conference being the dominant conference right now?
Right now,
back in third. Are they still in fourth?
I'm gonna say fourth, but they're knocking on the door.
Okay,
they're knocking on the door. The Bills are on shaky ground right now. No one knows what Buffalo is right now, and they haven't really improved. I feel, like I said, the Jags bringing in Calvin Ridley back from suspension is really going to stretch this offense, and that defense is young and solid. So I'm going to give them fourth, but they're knocking on the door.
Now that's fourth overall.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think they could actually finish seeding wise? Because as we know, the Jets and the Bills are obviously in the same division. The Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos are all in the same division. So where can and so and then of course you have to factor in Baltimore or Cincinnati, and they're in the same division. So where do you think they fall as far as ranking, as far as seeding goes? If they're the fourth best team overall.
I think at best they could eke the 3 seed.
Okay.
I think they, at their best, could fall behind Kansas City and the Bengals.
Okay.
Because, like I said, Buffalo was on shaky ground. Now, if Buffalo can put all this drama aside and just play and build on what they've done, then then I think they're the 4th. So 3 and 4 is where I think they are. At best 3, worst 4.
That's all. I mean, I think they'd probably be happy with the 3 seed. I I do think, and the only reason I think they could elevate to the 2 seed is just because they don't have to deal with someone beating their teeth in twice a season, as opposed to the other divisions all have at least one other team, team that's at least on their level or very close to them. That'll be a tough out twice a year.
No, true, but then that also can work against them because they can't go in thinking, okay, well, we are the dominant team in the division. We can kind of turn it on when we want to if they start to think that way. That's why I think Peterson's a good coach, because he's going to keep them at that level of nothing is given to you. We've got to keep the foot on the pedal whole season long. So I think it works for them, but they can't go in thinking, oh, the division is ours. We just need to do what we got to do, coast through, and then we'll be there. They really need to put the hammer down, get that Division I as early as possible, and beat the teams they need to beat.
Yeah. Well, speaking of beating who they need to beat, let's go through the schedule. We won't go through every team in this division just because the other 3 teams are kind of on sour notes.
Rebuild. We call that rebuild.
As much as it pains my heart to say that.
Everyone goes through it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Enjoy the ride.
I never thought after having Peyton Manning for so long and then drafting Andrew Luck right away that I'd be swapping the quarterback out every year for 4 years straight.
You're like, wait a minute, another one? Another one?
This is enemy territory. This is foreign ground to me. What's going on?
Exactly. You're like, that's not supposed to happen to me.
Yeah. So, of course, ironically enough, the Jags do lead off at Indianapolis. Then they host the Chiefs in their home opener. So that's honestly, when we talked about this last week as far as who this benefits more, and it's almost like a little extra edge for it to be the home opener for the Jags. And then they have another home game against Houston, followed by back-to-back international games against the Falcons and Bills. So what do you think about that 5-game stretch? Road Colts, home Chiefs, home Houston, and then back-to-back international games.
I don't think it's a bad schedule. I honestly, and we all have to be realistic and such with our teams and things of that nature. Opening up against the Colts, I think is a good start. Don't know what the run game is going to be in Indy and such. You're going up against a rookie, and an explosive rookie. In Richardson. I think that's a solid start for them. I think catching the Chiefs week 2 also I think is kind of good, because the Chiefs I think are still going to be kind of finding out what their new parts are. So they could pull something off. Not guaranteeing anything, but I think they have a better chance week 2 than, let's say, week 7, week 8, depending on what the Chiefs are. The international games back to back is interesting.
Yeah.
That's jet lag and just kind of getting into your routine and sticking with it. Everyone's heard the talk about them moving, across the pond, for years. But with the way the team is now in a winning culture that they're starting to develop, I think that move becomes less and less serious.
Yeah.
Now, if they were still bombing out and 4 or 5 win team for the next 3 or 4 years, then they would be the first team I'd say that are heading over there. But I think they've built the culture, and I think those 2 games won't be an issue for them.
It would be kind of shicey to move the team when after they finally get good.
Right? Exactly. Jacksonville's like, forget this, man. But no, I don't think the schedule is at the beginning is that bad.
Yeah. Who do you think would be more affected by in that Bills, the second of the 2, It actually probably is beneficial for the Jags to play the Falcons first and then the Bills, so they don't have to play the Bills right away after travel.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
so what type of Bills team do you think they'll get over going overseas?
I don't think anybody knows what we're getting out of Buffalo with all the drama at the beginning of the season. And of course, teams are going to say, no, everything is fine. Everything is good. No one puts the inside mess out there for the public. You're not supposed to. You know, you keep it in house and you put up the front of, no, everything is fine. Everything is great. Now, this issue with Diggs, is everything good? Is everything copacetic? Or the first couple games, let's say Allen misses a couple throws or he goes to somebody else in crunch time, is Diggs going to turn and say, you know what? If I'm not the guy, I want out? So I think it's more of what's Buffalo going to be. Because honestly, I see the Jags on par with Buffalo right now. I really do. I think the Jags are great at this point. And I just don't know what Buffalo's going to bring. So I think, yeah, it's great. It's better for them to play the Falcons, continue to build. And then, yeah, this could be one of those first real serious matchups for them this year.
What kind of odds would you put on the Jags to run 5-0?
Wow, 5-0. Oof. Wow, not a betting guy like that, but I would say 4-1.
4-1. Okay.
4-1. The Chiefs are the sticking point for me. You have to give the champs their due. And so far
Right.
they've looked solid in preseason. So I can't say that the Chiefs are gonna falter at this point week 2 against the Jags. I would say 4-1, and I believe the Jags would take that without a doubt.
Right. So interesting enough, when they come back stateside, we're going to be at that game.
Oh yes.
A rematch against the Colts at home. Historic in recent years. Going to Jacksonville has oddly been our house of horrors. So they come home to play us. Then they have back-to-back road games going into a Week 9 bye at New Orleans and at Pittsburgh. So what kind of wake-up call is that coming off of the international games? Home game, 2 road games. Colts, New Orleans, Pittsburgh. New Orleans, I should mention, is a short week.
Like everyone talks about the short week. I think after a while, teams kind of get used to it and they come up with a way to handle it. It's still kind of tough. I'm not gonna say it's something easy, but I think teams kind of figure out a way to work it.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be though.
Exactly. I would almost be inclined to worry more about the Steelers than I would the Saints. And the reason is the Steelers are a younger team, and I think they can keep up with the Jags better than the Saints. Now, mind you, the Saints offense has looked great. Everyone's bragging about that, first drive or two that, Carr had with them, and they looked solid. But that defense is a little older. The Jags, fast team. I just don't know if it's going to be a shootout, if they can hang with them long. I would be more inclined for the Steelers game. I think that might be the letdown game.
Yeah. Plus, you're
because
kind of
everyone's saying the Saints are going to win the division. Everyone's putting the Saints in that, I'm not saying higher NFC bracket, but calling them formidable. The Steelers, no one knows yet. They're like that team that's trying to build something, try to come back from 15 straight seasons of 500 ball. But I would say the Steelers would be the letdown game.
Plus, the other side of it is that goes into their bye week. Maybe they kind of like mentally check out a little bit early too, and they get caught off guard.
Very well could be like, I got a week off. I get to relax. Let me rest up. Very well could be. Like I said, Peterson's that kind of coach where he's going to kind of keep their eye on the prize and say, you know what, yeah, you're off next week, but we gotta handle business. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the Steelers game would be the one I'd worry about a bit more.
Now the rest of the schedule I want to go through in three blocks.
Okay.
Because the middle of the 3 has 2 primetime games against 2 good opponents. But the first 3 after the bye are San Francisco at home, Tennessee at home, and at Houston. So you have 2 divisional games, two divisional games against lesser opponents, and then obviously you're coming fresh off the bye against a really legitimate opponent.
Right.
Speaking of which, we should probably reset the record. So they're 4-1 going into those three games we just spoke on. What do you think they're going into the bye week as?
Oof.
Give them Indy, so 5-1.
Okay. And then we have, give me
New
one.
Orleans and Pittsburgh, both road.
I'm going to give them New Orleans. I'm going to say they lose to the Steelers.
Okay, 6-2.
I think that's a letdown game. I'm gonna say that they somehow just kind of just lose it a little. Maybe they do check out, like you say, So I'll give the Steelers the win on that one.
Okay, so 6-2 out of the bye week. You're fresh against the Niners at home, and then you get a home and road game against two of your other two lesser divisional rivals.
Right. I don't know what the Niners are. Like, no one knows if everyone's saying, no one knows if Brock's gonna be 100%. He's practicing and all, but it seems like there's doubt there. It could be Sam Darnold, for all we know. It could be Sam Darnold leading them. Let's be realistic here. And from all accounts, everyone's like Sam's has been unbelievable at training camp. So I still think the Niners are the better team. I think their defense would carry them. So I would give them the loss against the Niners. But I wouldn't be surprised if it became a shootout and somehow this is the Niners, choke game and they lose here. But
yeah.
Now, like I said, we always say that, we always split the division games. We always say, split home, split away. This instance,
we might have to break our rule though with the AFC South.
Like we couldn't break this rule in the NFC South because all the teams are just legitimately rebuilding bad.
Yeah.
I would say they'd go 2-1.
Yeah. 2 okay. Yeah.
I would give them 2-1. I guess 2-1. Yeah, I'll give them 2-1.
Okay. So 8-3. The next three games are really interesting. They're all against the rest of the AFC North.
Wow.
Cincinnati prime time on Monday night. So that's a long week after the Texans game. And then road against Cleveland and at home against Baltimore on Sunday night.
Ooh.
So, I mean, maybe this could be like the equalizer stretch.
This very well could be. I could see him going 1-2. I could see 1-2. Cincy, I think at that point, Burrow's back. Burrow's, we're way past this calf situation. At this point, they should be on, all cylinders rolling. I think at this point, Cincinnati kind of says, okay, yeah, you guys are good, but you still have a little bit to go to reach this level. So I can see him losing to Cincy. I could see he's losing to Cincy. Cleveland, I just don't like Cleveland. I just don't think Watson is what he was. I don't like it. The defense is solid, but I would say the Jags would win that game.
Yeah.
Baltimore. Wow. I'm going to give Baltimore the win right now.
Okay.
It's just going to be.
Could change.
Exactly. It depends if Baltimore becomes this passing offense that everybody thinks they're going to become, and they're going to throw for thousands upon thousands of yards, and they're going to be this dynamic offense. It could be interesting. So I'll give Baltimore the win. But if Baltimore's limping in there and they can't throw the ball, lick a spit, and it's just a mess, then the Jags are taking it. But right now, I'm going to give Baltimore that game.
And your final three games. So that's 1-2. They're 8-3. So that's 9-5. Final three. At Tampa, home Carolina, at Tennessee to close the season.
Ooh, at Tampa. Wow. I'll give the Jags the game because right now I have no idea who's throwing the ball in Tampa. No idea. So I'll give the Jags that game. Carolina, I'm giving the Jags that game. I don't know right now.
Yeah.
Carolina's defense is solid, but the offense is just, to me, kind of limped through, and everyone's been, Bryce has been great. I don't think he's been that great. I think he's been on his heels. Like, I haven't seen like a really good drive out of him.
Yeah, he had
Like
a
a
taste
Danny
of the happy
Dimes,
feet against the
like a
Giants.
Danny Dimes Giants drive, and that's really weird to say. But their last preseason game, they drove down the field and they looked good. So I haven't seen that kind of drive out of them yet. So I don't know what this offense is. So I'll take them over Carolina in the third game.
Tennessee
Tennessee
on the road.
on the road. We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be at that point. It could be Will Levis. Like, let's be real. Or Malik Willis might somehow turn this around.
Yeah.
So they're taking Tennessee. I don't, at this point, who knows what Tennessee is or what they're going to be. So I'll give them Tennessee.
All right, 12-5. They might have it locked up by Thanksgiving.
Very well could be. Let's be honest. Like, they could be one of those teams. If you really look at the league, they could have it done. They can have it done early if they build on what they've done. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And as far as the rest of their competition, which isn't much competition, at least we can talk about the biggest headlines for each team and how they figure out. One, of course, is the overall headline that they're all dealing with, and that's the revolving door that is the quarterback position. You have the Colts, who had just recently committed to AR for the season. Mm-hmm. So they're going with Richardson, which I think, especially as a fan, is the right decision because you're not going to be good this year. You're going to take your lumps. Just throw the young guy out there, see what and let him rip. Yeah, this is the season that you're not going to be good. You need to figure out what his kind of range is, so to speak. So see the lows, see the highs.
True. I would agree to that only if I knew for sure that my primetime running back 100% is going to be there week one.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have. I think when you start a rookie quarterback, you no doubt want to make sure that you have a run game that's going to be solid. You may not have 1,000-yard rusher, but you've got guys, who can kind of take the heat off of the guy. If it becomes a situation where, he sits there and the offense totally goes through him, that's going to be a problem because if they start letting him run all over the field, it's an injury waiting to happen. Let's be realistic.
Oh, it's gonna be it'll be Andrew Luck part 2.
So it's a situation of you sit there and you say, okay, who's it gonna be? If you can for sure say Taylor's he's coming back, he's gonna be there week one, then there you go. If not, I guess you gotta start him. I'm not a fan of it because this is the guy you're building your franchise on. You have told the people this is our franchise guy. You spent the number 4 pick on him. If that's the case and Taylor's not going to be in camp, then you need to sign somebody. You need to give Kareem Hunt a little more money than you offered him when he came to visit and say, hey, I need you to be the guy. I know no one wants to pay running backs, but if that's going to protect your future, then you got to do what you got to do. So
the ironic part about Taylor's situation juxtaposed to Barkley, to Jacobs, with Taylor, you have this limited window with Richardson. Since you're going with him from day one, you have this limited window of, let's say best case scenario, he's the franchise quarterback that we drafted him to be. You have a limited window before you have to start paying him franchise quarterback money. Yeah. So just pay Taylor now, because by the time you have to pay Richardson, that contract's going to be over and Taylor's going to be past his prime years. And if he still has anything left in the tank, he'll be more willing to take a lesser deal, and the money will still work out on the cap. That's why with Taylor's situation, I don't get it. Like Barkley, Jacobs, there's other factors going in, but with our situation, it doesn't make any sense not to pay Taylor.
No, if you're trying to be at least decent this season, like just to be somewhat relevant, then pay the guy. Like, this is where you're at. If you're not going to do it, then trade him. Like, be realistic here. Trade him, get what you can. Yeah, no one's paying out draft picks palooza for running backs and trades now. Let's be realistic. The position's been devalued beyond belief, but you get what you can. And then if you can sign Kareem Hunt to a 1 or 2 year deal, you're gonna have to overpay for him. But at least that you've got the picks. You can probably parlay those into running backs because everybody knows You're just picking up a running back out of the draft now, almost any round, and it's going to be a decent guy for you. That's what the thought process is now.
Yeah.
But you got to figure it out, because if not, it's going to be a sticking point in that building for the whole season.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they should have went after Zeke. Let's be realistic. Zeke can block. Zeke may not have the wheels anymore, but he's a solid blocker, and that's why New England picked him up. Let's be realistic. It was to protect Mac Jones.
Yeah.
You're not looking for Zeke to give you 1,000 yards. He's going to do the dirty work, and he's going to carve out his niche in the league for probably the next 2 to 3 years doing that. So maybe you would have signed him, said, Taylor, okay, I'm going to send you to the NFC somewhere, because we're not going to face you again.
Playing you, yeah.
So you send them away, maybe you get a couple second rounders or whatever you got to do, and you move on, because this is just going to hang over their heads until the man is paid.
Yeah. The only silver lining I'll say with this Richardson era as opposed to the Luck era is, assuming everyone's healthy, which was a big question mark last year, the rest of the team is in a better position now than they were when Luck got drafted. Because that offensive line when Luck was drafted was a complete mess. Those might as well have been JV high school players. And the defense was a little itty bitty pieces here and there, and they really weren't a good unit. And at least the defense now is a respectable unit. They just were on the field too much last year. They did play well. They just were playing. They were just on the field too much. And the offensive line, if they're healthy, is a good unit. They just weren't healthy last year.
No, definitely. But if you're thinking long term, Shaq Leonard's got to stay healthy.
Oh yeah.
There's that. I think you really need a number one. You need a big physical number one receiver. Pittman is a great number two. I don't know if he's the number one.
No, he's a downfield guy to me.
So I think if you can find a big physical guy, a wide receiver, and a tight end, it's gonna make Richardson's life a lot easier. But yeah, this year, there's gonna be the lumps. I think you're gonna have those games where the kid is gonna make some throws, and you're gonna be like, okay, wow, this is why we took him. You're gonna have some games while you're like, oh Lord, here we go.
Yeah.
But you're looking long term. You want to be able to say 3 to 4 years, okay, we're looking good. We're maybe where the Jags are. We've built it back up. And I think that's what Colts fans need to look at. You need to think long term. Take the little wins here and there, maybe upset some people. You build on that. Build for the future. So it's going to be interesting. Tennessee, I don't know what that's going to be. Is Tannehill your man or not? Because, it just seems like Tannehill's the forgotten guy. Like, I watch broadcasts, and it's like they barely mention him. Just trade him.
Right.
There's a team out there that'll use him. Yeah. Release him, and then just go on ahead. Because at best, you're going to be maybe a 10-17, maybe. Because you got Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, you're going to run into the ground. Let's be real.
Yeah.
They honestly should have traded him in the offseason. I'm sure.
Ironically enough, he's the one that did get paid, and he's the one who's going to lose his wheels first.
Yeah, because they've literally run him into the ground. Now, mind you, he's a beast, but the wheels are going to go. The wheels are going to fall off. It's human nature. If you could have traded him last year, I think they should have and said, okay, you know what? It's rebuild mode. Let's just rebuild it. But they're holding on, thinking that maybe they're going to make a run. I don't see it.
Yeah. And of course, the individual who wound up being the prize of the free agency market was DeAndre Hopkins, and the kind of was a little bit of a head scratcher go to Tennessee, considering they have not figured out this quarterback situation.
I don't know why. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he just thought the uniforms were cool looking. I want to play with Derrick Henry. I don't know. If I had been D-Hop and someone had called me and they were a true contender, that's where I'm going. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to win the ring. Unless he just wanted that cash grab. I don't know. I'm being honest. If the Chiefs had said, okay, I give you a 1 year at the league minimum, but you know what? We pretty much can at least get you to the conference championship. Then you ride that out. Play well, and then next year you get your final contract. You get your good contract, and there you go. Who knows? But yeah, it's a head scratcher to me. I figured New England would have offered a little more for him to go there, but he's a Titan now, so We'll see what happens.
Patriots don't pay anybody. You know this.
That's true. That's true. You always look for the garbage,
That's
aka poor man's Corey Dillon.
right.
Let's be realistic. He's the new Corey Dillon for them.
Yeah, for me with Hopkins, it had to have been a combination of two factors. One, familiarity, because he knows the division. Although at this point it's been a while since he was on the Texans. And two, it had to be going back to playing in an income tax free state. Because I don't know. I don't know what else it could have been.
Yeah, like I'm not looking at that team saying, "Oh man, we're knocking on their conference championship." There we go. I'm like, man, 9-8, it's looking kind of good, maybe.
Yeah,
at best. So,
I honestly, it's especially if they go with these young kids who haven't shown much in the preseason so far. I'd give them 6 wins tops, maybe 7.
I don't know. It's gonna be rough. I think Vrabel, if he pulls out 10 wins, it could be his best coaching. It really can. It'll be his best coaching job because that team I don't know. Their defense is decent. They're not horrible defensively, but you can't keep that defense on the field all day. They'll fall apart. You know, and that offense is not going up and down the field. They're going to slowly grind it out. That's what that team is going to be, a slow grind. And if Henry gets hurt, knock on wood, he doesn't. I don't wish injury on anybody. Forget about it. It's a wrap.
Speaking of a wrap, last but not least is the Houston Texans, and this is now a completely fresh thing. They changed over the whole leadership. They bring in a new coach,
Yes.
third new coach in as many seasons, might I add, and they bring in a new rookie quarterback. Which personally, I'm not a big Ohio State quarterback guy. Tell me one Ohio State quarterback that's had significant success in the NFL in recent memory.
Lovey got ripped.
Lovey did get ripped.
Lovey got ripped. I think to go forward, Lovey was a lame duck. I think he did a hell of a job with that team with what he had, and those guys played for him. Lovey never had really great success in the NFL, but he was a solid coach. So respect to Lovey in that sense. You bring in DeMarco, DeMarco and Ryans, the one of the children of the Texans, had played there for years, great player,
Mm-hmm.
So he's bringing in that Niners culture. CJ could be the guy who breaks the curse. Now, Fields in Chicago isn't horrible.
Yeah, but he's still not quite there yet.
Yeah, but this is going to be like the year for Fields where you're going to see it, where you're going to see what he has. He's got some weapons. He's better equipped than CJ is, I believe.
Yeah.
But they've got young talent there. Menchie, he's coming back from his illness from last year, didn't play. So I think he's going to be key. He's got some talent. I think they're a team that's they're gonna maybe surprise a couple teams here in the season. But I think they're more worried about developing the culture and just building these guys up. I don't think DeMarco's sitting there saying, you know what? Yeah, we're winning the division this year. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah.
I think you go in and you sell these guys and say, hey, I know it's been tough here, especially with the veterans. I'm here to try to rebuild this. I'm not going to promise you, conference championships. I can't do that, but we're going to build this. So 3, 4, 5 years from now, we're getting there. We're at that level. CJ, I think he could be the guy. I think he's got that maturity to him. It's just, you just have to see what they have. Pierce is a great running back, physical, hard runner. They can't run him into the ground. Like I said, they've got some young receivers. They've got some pieces there. So, they eke out 5 wins this year. I'd be impressed. 5, maybe 6. I don't know. But I think the future's okay for them. It's just, you can't just put it all on CJ and say, okay, you're the franchise guy, win it for us. Can't do it. We've seen how that goes.
The thing I will say about the Texans is under Lovey as well as under David Cullen, that defense did play really, really hard. So D'Amico Ryan's being a defensive guy,
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's at least got a strong work ethic to work with in that locker room.
I think that team will believe in him. I think he's got that guy. He's got that that feel of, okay, you know what? I'm here for you guys. You guys put in the work. I'll do what I can. And of course, from him being in Houston, it's that automatic, love affair that the fans are going to have with him because they're going to remember the days where they were good. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think this defense will play for him because they saw what the Niners defense was. Now they don't have all those parts at all, but I think if those guys play within what they have, they'll be a solid unit.
Well, speaking of being a solid unit, let's make you some solid units and toss to Donnie Dolla signs for his picks to make you some gambling win of the AFC South.
We're gonna make it rain this year.
All right, Chase, Donnie Dolla's here, and today we're going to give you the picks for the AFC South. And this is another no-brainer. We're going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars at -155 to win that division. I know the Titans are always up there to give them a run for the money. Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of work this year, I think. And, I mean, defense is always good, but Vrabel's getting everything he could get out of them in the past, 5 years now. He had 4 winning seasons. Last year they fell off. The Colts and Texans, I think they're going to stay at the bottom. Who knows what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor. So, yeah, we're going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars at -155. I think Peterson and Lawrence are going to have a great year. I mean, Ingram's, he's a beast now. And, I mean, with Calvin Ridley, I think he's going to do a very good job, too. And even with that said, with Christian Kirk, I mean, that's going to open up a lot of stuff, too. You can't double Ridley. I mean, Kirk's a big play waiting to happen, too. So, yeah, we're going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars -155 to win that division. And since we're going to stay in the betting realm over here with Calvin Ridley, since he likes to bet, he got in trouble for it. It's kind of funny, ironic. He's in the NFL. The NFL promotes betting, so whatever. But we're going to go with Calvin Ridley at 10 touchdowns this year, going at +470. So we're going to stay with Calvin Ridley. He's going to go over 10 touchdowns this year, +470. All right, we're going to take those to the bank. Back to you, Chase.
Thanks a lot, Donnie. Here to wrap this preview up on the AFC South. Again, likewise to which division was it? The NFC West last week. Is there any chance we disagree on who wins this division?
No, I think it is what it is. I think what you're going to look for is to see 2, 3, and 4, like where the growth is. Who's the team that's going to kind of step up next year?
Yeah.
And challenge the Jags, but no, unless the Jags literally fall apart, knock on wood, no injuries or anything like that, it's the Jags division to lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, unless Trevor Lawrence has some incredibly devastating season-ending injury. I don't see any hope for any other teams to come back and take this.
No, I think they're better offensively with Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to stretch the field even more. Their run game, they're going to be pass happy. Trevor's going to put up some numbers. That defense is, I think, only going to get better. So, yeah, it's the Jags and everybody else.
Well, speaking of everyone else, we've run through a bunch of divisions. We got 2 more, and we saved the most tantalizing for last. Join us next week as we go through the Super Bowl runner-up and the man of the hour this entire NFL offseason, the NFC and the AFC East. Catch us next week.